Hello, welcome to the Church360 Unite webinar for calendars and events. Hi, my name is Rod Kiles and I am the Customer Onboarding Specialist for Concordia Technology Solutions. You can reach me one of two ways. You can reach me at rod.kiles@cph.org, and you can also reach me by phone at 314-268-1315. I do ask you to mute your phones and microphones, and if you have any questions, please post those in the question window. So any questions that are posted, I do answer those at the end of the session, and I answer those in the order that they are received. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post those. This webinar is broken into three sections. There's the outline, the part of the webinar where we go through and actually go through each one of the items from the outline, then our question and answer session. So let's go ahead and get started with the outline. So in this webinar, the calendars and events webinar, we are going to start out with a small overview just to discuss a couple features within the program. Then we're going to go through calendar management, where we'll discuss how to manage your calendars, how to add calendars, delete calendars, and deal with the permissions for each one of your calendars. Then we're going to go through a short page overview. So there's some concepts there that apply to your calendars that we need to discuss. After that, we'll discuss group calendars to show you how to control the permissions on your group calendars. Then we'll go through the process of creating events on your main calendars and on your group calendars. Once we complete that, then we'll go on to our question and answer session. So if you're ready, I'm ready. So let's get started. We're going to go ahead and switch screens, and everyone should be able to see my Church360 Unite website. And in the address bar, it's going to say christbakersville.org. We have a custom domain pointing to demo.360unite.com. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, and when a user logs into the system, that will dictate what that person can or cannot see. So when you log in, you do have the option to check the box for Remember Me. If you forget your password, you can go through the Forgot Your Password process, and you can sign in with Facebook or sign in with Google. So I'm going to go ahead and click Sign In, and that will take me into the product. And when you log into the product, you'll notice that there's two menu bars. One is going to be your admin bar, since I logged in as an administrator, and the other is going to be your main menu bar. The admin bar is provided by the programmers, and this allows you to manage your website. So there'll be pages, posts, activity, users, themes, and settings. And then the main menu bar, these are going to be pages and categories that you as a user control. So you'll create, modify, update. You'll take care of all of that with the categories and pages that are here. So let's go ahead and go to settings here at the top inside of our admin bar. And underneath settings, you'll see a list of settings here on the left-hand side. And underneath settings, it's going to say account, calendars, domain, Google Analytics, and integration. We're going to go to calendars. And once we go to calendars, you're going to see a list of calendars here in the view. And with that list of calendars, you'll also notice the different colors and the little icons that are present as well. To create a new calendar, you would actually type the name of the calendar in this white box here, and I'm going to type in gymnasium. Then click create, and then that will create that new calendar. In the list of calendars, the colors that you assign are to distinguish between each type of calendar or distinguish between different types of calendars. So if you have different board calendars, you could assign those to a certain color. In children ministry, you could assign that to a color. If you had significant life events like birthdays and baptisms, you can assign those to colors. When it comes to the calendars that are here inside of your calendars view, there's 4 types of calendars. We did one of them just a second ago, so you can create your own custom calendars. There's also going to be the calendars that flow over from Church360 members to Church360 Unite. And I would say also that the calendars from Church360 Unite will also flow over to Church360 members. So they share a database and they share information. These 2 programs share a database and share information. The calendars that are flowing over from Church360 members will have a little lock on them. Certain ones will have little locks on them. The reason why these have locks on them is because they are significant life event calendars. They are coming over from Church360 members, but they are significant life event calendars. So like when it says baptisms and birthdays, when you add information into the person records for your members and Church360 members, that can be seen over here if you'd like. So especially birthdays, if you wanted to share with your users the birthdays, you could do so. So let me close that area. The third type of calendar is going to be a group calendar, and that will be signified by the 3 little individuals who are kind of huddled together there. So what groups are? Groups are going to be a way to communicate with a group of people inside of Church360 Unite. So when you're in Church360 Unite, you can create a group, which is kind of like a website within your website. And when you have that group set up, you can communicate with those individuals. And then the 4th type of calendar is going to be your Google calendars. So with Church360 Unite, you can import your Google calendars from your Google Calendar. So to do that, you would check this little box down here at the bottom. And if you have never imported those calendars before, you'll actually get a little pop-up window. And that window will allow you to enter in your Google account credentials and pull those shared calendars from your Google calendars over to 360 Unite. Excuse me just one second. Sorry about that there. Okay, and then you'll actually see these calendars here in your list. And we have some sample calendars that we've pulled over from our Google account. The event management for these calendars would still take place inside of Google, but you can see the information from those calendars here inside of Church360 Unite. So basically you'll be just able to see that information. You can view it here inside of Church360 Unite. So let's go ahead and I'm going to scroll back up to the top. And once we know the type of calendars that we can see here inside of Church360 Unite, let me click on our gymnasium calendar that we just created. And once you click on that calendar, that's going to open up your inline editing. And it'll say who can view this calendar. You'll have the option for nobody, for users, and for everyone. If you say nobody, that means that it won't be seen. The only person that will be able to see this calendar is going to be the person who, your administrator, who logs in, goes to settings, and goes to calendars. To the right of nobody is going to be users. And for users, that's going to represent anybody who can log into Church360 Unite. So your users, your publishers, and your administrators will be able to see this calendar. And if you set it to everyone, that means that anybody who visits the site, even if they don't have a login, will be able to see this calendar. So what I'm going to do is set this one to users, and then I'm going to click Save. And then that would be the permissions for that calendar. And you'll notice here on the right-hand side that now it says users. You'll also notice that some of them say nobody, some of them say disabled. Now, the ones that say disabled, those are going to be tied to groups. And I'm going to scroll up and go to our church council group. And you'll notice how it says disabled. When I click on the inline editing for that group, it's going to say this is required by this is required by your church council and can be changed in group settings. So when you're dealing with the permissions for group calendars, those are going to be managed inside of the actual group. And we're going to show more of that here in just a second when we go over to the when we actually go over to the group. So here's where you would actually manage your calendars. Um, let's show the permissions for calendars. So, and that's actually going to be under pages. I'm sorry. Let's show how to make a calendar, the whole calendar public. So let's go over to pages here on the left-hand side. So once we've added our calendars into the system and we've selected who can actually see the calendar, here under pages, you're going to be able to put your calendar into the navigation or take your calendar out of the navigation. You'll notice down the left-hand side here that there's little icons, and there's going to be 5 different little icons. There's going to be your static page icon, your category icon, your feed icon, your members icon, and also your calendar icon. So the calendar is the one we want to take a look at. And inside of this view, this is the page view, you're going to have 2 tabs. You're going to have active menu items and available menu items. The active menu items are going to be the pages and categories that are inside of your main menu. And the available menu items over here on the right, those are going to be pages that are not inside of your main menu. So if I click and drag one of these pages, I can reposition where that page is located. So it'll either be in the menu items or it won't be in the menu items. From there, I'm going to want to select the status of the page. So either the page is going to be published or it's going to be draft. And if the page is published, I'll have one of 2 options. I'll have the option to have that page be public or private. So the permissions that I was showing before deal with accessing that calendar, but whether or not someone can see the calendar page is going to be determined here inside of pages. So right now I have the calendar as member only, meaning that you have to log into the site to see this calendar, and that's probably not the ideal state for the calendar because there's going to be worship events and Bible studies that you're going to want to share with the world. So to change that status, I would click on the page that I want to change. I would then click on public, and then that would take the members only off. So now at this point, anybody who comes to the calendar will be able to see the calendar, but depending on the calendar that's tied to this calendar, let me go ahead and save my changes. And I'm going to go back to settings and go to calendars. Depending on these calendars here, this will control what is shown to the world. So you want to make the calendar page public, but you want to control the content that you show on that calendar page. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to the pages view and take a look at the church council group. So to access, well actually let's go to calendars first and then we'll look at the church calendar view. So to go to calendars, I'll click on the hyperlink or slug here, and then that's going to take me to the calendar page. Give it just a second there. Let's see it's working. Let me try that one more time, calendars. There we go. Let's give it just another second. Oh, there we go. Okay, it just pulled up. So this is going to be your calendar page. And when you're on the calendar page, you'll actually be able to display different calendars. And these are going to be the calendars that we saw underneath settings and underneath calendars. So each one will have the color that we selected, and you'll be able to see whether or not it's a group calendar on this view. In addition, depending on which groups you have rights to access, those will show here or not show here. So inside the calendar view, you'll notice at the upper right there's a new event button, and you'll notice that there's directional arrows that take you back into the past and forward into the future. So the Today button here in the middle will allow you to jump to today's date. You can also change the layout, so you can view the calendar by month. You could also view the calendar by week if you would like. So this calendar drop-down box here, when you click on that, you can specify which events you want to see based on the calendar that's selected. So I'm going to uncheck a few of these, and I'm going to check the worship calendar here. And then that's going to show my worship events. And if I like, I could show the birthdays as well. So, and then I'll add in Bible studies. And then this would be the calendar that I would see. Each user can customize the calendars that they'd like to see on their own calendar view. So prior to creating an event, I'd like to show the permissions for group calendars as well. So to access your groups, you can go back up to pages, and you could select the church council group or the group that you want to view here in the list. And for all of a sudden, I can't see the group, the church council group. There it goes right there. Okay, so that will take me over to church council. And when you go to your church council group, that's kind of like a website inside of the website. Here on the right-hand side, there's going to be events and new events. So if I click on events, that's going to take me to the church council calendar, and it's going to show me all of the events on that calendar. Now, if I go to edit this group, at this point, I can specify the permissions and who can see that group. So you'll notice here that there's home, discussion, events, and members. And for events, I'll have 5 options. I'll say no one, this is completely hidden. I'll have the option for only group leaders. For church council, it's probably going to be only group members. Then there's going to be only Unite users and everyone public. So with church council, most likely it's going to be only group members. The good thing about that is only the group members will be able to see this calendar, and no one else will be able to see this calendar. So let's go back to events here. And to add an event into the system, we're either going to go to the calendar that we want to add the event for, or we can go into the group that we want to add the event. So to add the event, I can click on the day that I want to add the event, or I can click New Event here on the right-hand side. And this process would apply when you're under calendars. And we're going to create a couple of events so everybody can see how that process is done. So say that there's a special church council meeting that's coming up here in the near future. So we're going to select March 24th. And if I click on the day, then I can go ahead and enter in the title, and I'm going to say that this is a special church council meeting. Then it's going to have my calendar pre-selected because I'm already inside of that group. But you can assign an event to more than one calendar. There's going to be the little eyeball here, and it's going to say this event can be visible to, and it'll show you who can see this event. And right now, this is just going to be these group members. From there, you can specify the location, Office 103. You could say the date and the time, and say that this meeting starts at 5 p.m. and runs to 6:30 p.m. If this is an all-day event, I'll check this is an all-day event, and if this event repeats, I can check the box that shows that it repeats, and we'll create a repeating event next. You could then fill in the description. You can say who you want to invite to the event, and you can select the different church council members. Then from there, you can go down and send out reminders as well. When you check the box for invitation, that means that they'll get one email at their email address. And if you check reminders, it means that they'll get an additional email that reminds them about the upcoming event. So you could say 1 day before and 2 hours before. So with this configuration that I have right here, the person would receive 3 emails, 1 for the invitation and 2 to remind them about the upcoming event. So at this point, I would click Create Event, and then that event would show up on my calendar. Next, let's take a look at the overall church calendar. So I'm going to go to Connect, and I'm going to go to Calendar, and that's where the actual calendar is located in the navigation. Give it just a moment here. Let me reload my screen here, just 1 second. I'm going to connect and go to calendars. Just give it a few more seconds here. It seems to be running a little slow. Oh, there it goes. Okay. And this would be the calendar that any of the users who access the system would be able to see. Depending on their permissions and rights for each one of the calendars and within the software, they could go to calendars and they could select the calendars that they want to see. Now you'll notice the different group calendars here on the right. If they're not part of that group, then they will not see these group calendars. Then you can simply check the calendars that you want to see. So if I want to add in an event, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the New Event button here on the right-hand side. And then that's going to bring up the new event window where I can state which type of event I'd like to create. So I'm going to call this one Youth Basketball. And then I'm going to add it to the calendar that we created called Gymnasium. And then it says this event will be visible to users because that's the way that we set up the calendar. If I wanted this event to show up on more than one calendar, I could select the calendar, or I could select additional calendars here as well. So I'm going to leave mine on Gymnasium and the Children Ministry. Then from there, there's going to be location, and I could say where the event is going to take place. I could say when the event starts. So let's say that this is going to take place every Tuesday, and it's going to run from 3:30 to 5:30. Then this event repeats, and say that it repeats every single Tuesday. So we'll say every single week. We do have the options of single, other, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and we have week, month, year. So if this is something that took place twice a month, we could do every single month, then add in the first and the third, or something along those lines. But let's switch back to every single week and say every single week on Tuesday, it starts on the 15th, and let's say that this is going to run for 10 weeks. So it starts on the 15th of March, and 29th, 29th, 19th. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, to the 17th. Then at that point, we can fill in a description and we can send out invitations to the people that we wanted to invite to this event. Then from there, we could send out reminders. So prior to every single event that occurs, you can send out a reminder a day before, and you could say an hour before. Then you would create the event. This will send out your invitation. Then an hour before the event and a day before the event, you would be able, or the people who are participating in the event would be able to receive their reminder on their cell phones or wherever they can access those emails from. So looking here inside of the edit event window here, you'd be able to say whether or not you are going, and you can say I'm going. You can add in comments. The person who created the event or the administrator, well, let's say the administrator or the publisher, those are going to be the only two people who can create these types of calendar events. If you're a group leader, you'll be able to create calendar events for that group. But that person can go in and edit the event if they needed to make changes. And then once the changes were made, they'd be able to update just for this event, update all events in the schedule, and update all future events, and then they could update. If they needed to delete the event, they could use delete, and they could also copy the event as well. Okay, so let me go back to Connect and Calendar. Then on the calendar, I'm going to go to calendars and I'm going to uncheck a few of these other calendar events. And I'm going to make sure to check gymnasium so that we can see that event. And that's how you would add in a recurring event. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my, actually I'm going to switch over to my other screen here. And I just wanted to show how those private events worked. So we added an event to the church calendar event, and my previous screen I was in Google Chrome. Now I'm in Internet Explorer, and you can kind of tell by the circles here at the left-hand side. But I'm going to go to Connect and go to Calendar. And earlier I was logged in as Kent, but now I'm logged in as Rob. And you'll notice under Calendars that he doesn't have access to the church council calendar. So this here is just to show that if you don't have rights to a calendar, you won't be able to see those events. So Kent can see those events, but Rob cannot. So let me switch back to the PowerPoint presentation and ask if you have any questions. And it does look like a couple questions came in. That's good news. And before anybody drops off, I do want to thank everybody for attending. I hope you enjoyed the class. And if you have any questions outside of the question and answer session, let me know. Or you can also call 1-800-346-6120, and you can email us at support@cts.cph.org. Okay, the first question is from Kim. Hello, Kim. It says, for a birthday calendar, will they come over from Shepherd staff? Oh, that's a really good question. Unfortunately, not. That calendar information does not come over from Shepherd staff. The next question is from Joanne. Can you print a calendar? We print a calendar in our newsletter each month, and right now I prepare that in Shepherd staff and have to re-enter everything in 360. Looking to shorten this process. Definitely understand. Currently, when it comes to the calendars in Church360 Unite, those calendars are all online calendars. Now, in Church360 members, you could share the information between the two programs and print the calendar from there. But unfortunately, right now, the calendars in Church360 Unite do not have the ability to be printed. And another question from Kim. Hello, Kim. Can you add pictures to the calendar yet? Unfortunately not. I will make sure to add that in as a suggestion so that we can, so that they can hear your suggestion on that. Would you be willing to send or put in a follow-up on the type, like the type of pictures? So I know there's Hmm. I'm trying to think of the type of pictures. I was thinking that I've seen that in certain situations, but if you post the type of pictures that you'd like to post, I will add that in as a suggestion as well so that they get a fuller understanding of what you'd like to see. Any kind of JPEG. Okay. Yeah, well, yes. Yes, I was thinking that I know with certain denominations, they have certain images that are, I want to say, sanctioned, and they use those images in different bulletins on different calendars. And I don't know if that's the case, but we can definitely add that suggestion because um, I know in Church360 members, if you export the calendar to Word, of course, you could insert any type of JPEG or any type of image that is acceptable by Word, but I'll definitely add that in to go along with your suggestion. Yes, ma'am, I definitely understand. Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I will end the session, and I look forward to speaking to everybody later on. Oh, yes, absolutely. Good question. Um, Kim asked another question, and it's a good one. The question is, are holidays added automatically, or do you have to add those in? And unfortunately, right now, the calendar does come blank. And actually, you know what? Let me backtrack on that statement. Um, well, that the statement would be true that you would have to add those in. But what you could do if you have a Google Calendar, there's free calendars that you can import into your Google Calendar that that could automatically be imported when you import your Google Calendar into 360 Unite. So the great thing about calendars like that, once you added that calendar one time, to your Google account, and once you added your Google account calendars to 360 Unite, then those holidays would automatically appear forever. You know, it would move forward forever and ever. So um, not automatically, but it definitely can be done through Google Calendars. Yes, absolutely, Kim. I can send you steps on how to color your events. Yes, and um, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate it. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, I will end the session. I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon, and for some of you, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, thanks. Talk to you soon.